Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CBJ Sports. Of course, today we don't have Billy. We're going to talk the Masters that happened yesterday, NFL updates, including Deshaun Watson, the NBA MVP, and we're going to cap it off with college football and who is DBU. First off, we're going to start off with the Masters yesterday. I'm not even going to try to say the last name, but Adiki Matsuyama ended up winning it. I fell asleep, if I'm being honest, at around the 16th hole. I was pulling for Xander Schauffele. But who finished second? Did Xander finish second?
No, Will.
Zalatoris.
Yeah, Will had a hard putting day yesterday, but we're going to talk about guys who impressed. And to me, I was a big fan of Xander. He had a rough front nine on Sunday, but he ended up coming back a little bit. He had an eagle opportunity around 13. He had a couple birdies in a row to put him in second and catch up with Will, and then ended up capping off with another rough stretch at the end. But he played good overall all weekend, put himself in a position to win it, and I think even for the casual fan, Xander's becoming a favorite when it comes major time.
He had, I think, his first 6 holes on the back nine. He went 6 under. He birdied 6 straight. But I like him or I like Will, but he didn't putt as good yesterday.
But that was his problem coming in with big golfer guys. They said he couldn't putt.
He just struggled a little bit with big-time putts that he needed, like birdie opportunities.
Will Zalatoris is just so young, and his first time playing on that course or that Masters in that type of environment at least. So give him a couple years. I think he's gonna be winning some majors.
I think that leads into the second question: is guys we didn't know before the weekend that we're gonna know next round in the Masters, and I think we can all agree it's gonna be Will. He's 24. He's just gonna improve and get better at putting. And now that he knows he can compete with the best of the best, he's gonna train a little bit harder and a little bit more. Moving on to the NFL, I talked about Deshaun Watson and all the allegations that's going on in Houston and how bad the franchise looks right now. But where they go with QB, I think Tyrod Taylor's a good option. I think that can last you a year, maybe get you a lottery pick where you can draft the future, maybe in Sam Howell if you end up at 1. But Kellen Mond, I think I put Davis Mills on here, Kyle Trask if you want to take one in the second since you have a second-round pick. Those guys can be guys that can help you win now. Of course, you're going to have to draft better talent in the future, but I think if you really want to go for a lottery pick next year, you just roll with Tyrod and take the contract.
Yeah, I think they roll with Tyrod for a year because I don't think Super Bowl is really in their picture right now. So I think they roll with Tyrod, who's proven that he can be an NFL quarterback. He doesn't have to leave so soon. And roll with him for a little bit. And if there's a late quarterback that falls late, then draft him. But I think you get ready for next year.
Yeah, you just ride Tyrod out, go through the draft, stack your defense up, stuff like that. And then when it's time to get your franchise quarterback again, you draft him.
Yeah, Tyrod's proven he can at least – he's not going to go 0-16. He'll win
he can win football games.
Yeah, and
I look at it like how Carolina did this offseason. I compare Teddy
signing Tyrod Taylor to $121 million.
Besides the contracts, I compare the QBs pretty close. Besides the contracts, but I think they do what Carolina did: draft all defense and then work on that offense.
Yeah, I think Houston's already in a better spot than Carolina is pre-rebuild. Moving on to wide receivers in the league. Of course, I've made this argument. I think wide receivers make quarterbacks look better. I think they're just as big a part of an offense as the quarterback is. And the topic is top 3 receivers going into 2021. I'll go for my one, and we can just pass it around and go through one. One for me is D-Hop. He had 100-plus catches, 1,400 yards. He's right behind Stephon Diggs in yards for number 1. And I think I took him just over his capability size-wise. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. I think he's more of a Megatron-type guy as Stephon's after-the-catch guy.
Yeah, mine might be a little more biased, but I got Stephon at number 1.
And it's not even like Stephon's
he's right there. But I think D-Hop's just as good. But I think I take Stephon over D-Hop just because of the route running. Stephon's route running is amazing.
Yeah, you can take either one at one. They're both right there. But like Josh said, I'm go Diggs. He's got the edge just a little bit over route running.
Yeah, I think that's really toss-up. As I think 2 for us is just flip-flop. Y'all probably have D-Hop. I have Stephon Diggs. Of course, Stephon Diggs with 100-plus catches, 1,500 yards. But 3 is where it gets a little bit more confusing. And it's a little bit of biasy, but I went through the stats, and 66 catches, 1,200 yards. DJ Moore also, as we talked at Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback, who's known for doing the dump downs. DJ didn't have the touchdowns to match up with other guys. But 1,200 yards on 66 catches, There's one name on the list that had as many catches with 900 yards. I think it was Corey Davis with Ryan Tannehill. There's guys that you could have taken over him, DK, Tyreek, with a little bit more yards, but they also had 100-plus catches as Stephon did, as DeAndre did. I think I took DJ with the most production with the less amount of catches.
You compare DK to DJ Moore?
Well, DK also doesn't have the yards to match up with DJ. He doesn't have as many yards as DJ Moore.
I would
No,
take
DK,
DJ Moore over DK any day.
Yeah, DK is
The fact
to
you
me.
said
He's
his
really
name, bro.
not.
Well, I think a lot of people's problem with DJ is he didn't have the touchdowns, but I think I put that more on Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, that's more of a
yeah.
team
Yeah.
thing. But my 3 was Devontae Adams, who I think is the best route runner in the league. So I think I have to put him at 3.
Yeah, that's who I have.
I think a big thing with Devontae is he also had 18 touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, he probably. I wouldn't say he would have more, but I mean, he was hurt half the year. But I don't know. It's Devontae Adams.
Yeah, I think Devontae Adams is a good option for 3. I think if I'm not putting DJ, I'm putting Devontae there. But all 3 of those guys, I think this is the best time in the NFL I've seen with a wide receiving core as young as it is.
For sure.
As they're just going to get better and get more yards and change the game. Moving on to guys that make quarterbacks better, talking about quarterbacks, is Patrick Mahomes. I watched a Colin Cowherd episode, and he was talking about Patrick Mahomes being in the conversation for top 10 right now. And I had to look at guys like Dante Culpepper, Joe Namath, Drew Brees that would be a little bit farther ahead of him because of the career. But what Patrick Mahomes has done in such a short span, I think, is what is putting him in these conversations. And for me, I think I put him, if I'm not putting him in at 10, I'm going to have to put him right outside of it until he gets another ring or gets another MVP or see if he gets hurt before any of this changes.
Yeah, see, I'm not huge on Patrick Mahomes because of the system that he got put into was they were already winning 10 games. Mahomes, did help him win a couple more in a Super Bowl, but because of the team he's on, I think, my opinion, I have to wait 4 more years before I put him top 10. I just can't put him top 10 right now.
Not right now. He just don't like. Who isn't Tom Brady? Who has the most passing yards? Like, what's the number?
I think Drew Brees has the record.
But I think Breeze has yards.
Yeah, what's the number though? Like, I
do
don't
not know.
I mean, not
A
right
long
now.
way
He
from Patrick
definitely
Mahomes
don't
right
have
now.
He could definitely have the yards, but not right now. He's just gotta wait.
I think the one stat that Patrick Mahomes is like closing in on fast is the touchdown mark. I think in a certain amount of seasons. I think it's like I don't know the numbers. I know Patrick Mahomes is on track to like smash the record for touchdowns.
Does Peyton Manning have all time?
I think so.
I
I know Tom Brady and Drew Brees are going back and forth.
I'm pretty sure it's Brady and Tom right now going to be just Brady.
But I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a really good career. He doesn't really get hurt that much. The offensive line has to be fixed. But I think the Chiefs are set up for success for a long time down the road. Moving on to the defensive tackle position, Aaron Donald and the impact on that position and just how he's changed it. Teams are now looking at the defensive tackle position as one of the most important ones on the field. Because if you have an Aaron Donald, teams aren't going to run the ball. They're going to change a complete game plan around the defensive tackle. And to me, I think he's just made it just have to be more athletic, a little bit more stronger. Not the 300-pound guys like Star Lotulelei, as I watched in Carolina when we went to the Super Bowl, but more like a Kawan Short, a little bit faster, a little bit more athletic, a little bit more agile. I think he's just completely changed the position.
It's definitely changed a lot of teams' minds. Like, as in Buffalo, we tried to draft Ed Oliver, who hasn't been too bad, but he hasn't.
I think that's a good comparison.
Yeah, he hasn't been Aaron Donald. So, but his contract ends this year, so he's probably gonna have a Pro Bowl year. That's usually what happens.
Yeah, like if you go back to like old D tackles, they're like just
Big
bull rush,
guys.
just fill up the gaps, stuff like that. But Aaron Donald's quick. He can move with his feet. He can just do everything. Stop the run, get to the quarterback. I think that's what teams are looking at nowadays. Besides just trying to stuff the run.
Yeah, I think Aaron Donald is going to impact the game forever, maybe go down as one of the best defensive players in history. Moving on to going into week 1, just the top 5 guys who would go with at quarterback. We've had a lot of controversy. This is a topic that we have argued about a lot. We're going to go 1 through 5 and start at 1. 1 through 4 is probably just different names, different spots. My number 1 is Patrick Mahomes.
Aaron Rodgers.
My number 2 is the guy who beat Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady.
I got Tom Brady at 2.
Tom Brady.
And then 3 for me is Josh Allen. I think y'all have the same.
Yeah, Josh Allen. 3.
And 4, I just had him a little bit lower, but Aaron Rodgers.
And then I got Patrick Mahomes at 4.
Yeah, I got Mahomes at 4.
Okay, so just 4 names, different spots. 5's where it gets questionable, especially for y'all against me. I took Matthew Stafford because of just the capabilities he has at quarterback, the new situation he's in Los Angeles. I think that team's built for Matt Stafford. I think Jared Goff was supposed to be Matt Stafford, a guy like Matt Stafford that can throw the ball as accurate as Matthew can. Guys I listed with him were Lamar and Kyler as the options to take at 5. I'm not a big fan. You're not a big fan of Patrick Mahomes. I'm not a big fan of Russell Wilson. I think I took Matthew Stafford over Russell Wilson just because the type of quarterback that's in that situation. We've seen the Seahawks not make the playoffs with that team, and I think in 2021 Matthew Stafford can take that Rams team to the playoffs, especially with that defense that's already there.
Is this top 5 for
Going into 2021 week 1?
Oh, okay. Definitely, you have to put Matthew Stafford top 5. I think I'll go ahead and bet right now Matthew Stafford MVP. I'll put money on it.
I don't know if I'd put money on it.
I think he could. If
Matthew
he stays
Stafford's
healthy,
he's going to make that team go to the playoffs.
if he stays healthy, but that's already a playoff team. Think about that with Jared
The
Goff.
defense is playoff.
But
They
the
got-
offense was still there.
They got to get a couple more weapons.
But
that-
that's what
like,
I'm saying.
Jared
I
Goff
think
was that piece that was holding them back from the playoffs.
Like they got
exactly. So Matthew
yeah.
Stafford, I think he could have an MVP.
I mean, that's the
season.
best defense in the league. I don't think there's like an argument.
Well, they lost a coach, but we'll see. It shouldn't change much, but you never know.
That defense is still really, really
Yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah.
Players are still there.
I got Russell Wilson at 5. They revamped their O-line this offseason, re-signed some people on the defensive side, and then I think they'll have a good draft, and I think they'll go deep in the playoffs this coming year.
Yeah, I don't think, for me, it's not a slight against Russell Wilson. I love him as a quarterback. I love dual threat guys, as y'all know. Besides the Super Bowl run where he had with Pete Carroll and Marshawn Lynch being almost in his prime, I think that team's just kind of falling apart. He's already kind of asked out of that situation in a sort where they got a trade offer for him. I just think the most secure situation is Matthew Stafford in L.A. Talking about quarterbacks and O-line situations, do the Falcons need to move on from Matt Ryan? I think he's getting a little bit up there in age. To me, I haven't seen him change a game. I know CJ has stats on him being a consistent quarterback, but as being a fan of a team in that division, I don't think Matt Ryan scares you anymore. He's not going to take over a football game and beat you with his arm. I think you have to look into the future, maybe take a guy at 4, if not trade down and get an offensive line or receiver to help Matt Ryan.
Yeah, I think they stick with Matt Ryan. I don't think they trade down, though. I think they go ahead and draft Sewell right there or Sean Slater. But I think Matt Ryan, I think he can go 2 more years. No doubt, 2 more years, if not more. I think they ride him out as long as they can.
Yeah, before you talk, I think a problem with Matt Ryan is the finger. He's broken it, I think, 3 times in the last 3 years, and he's missed some games because of that. And I think injury problems also have to be a factor in this decision.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just ride him out. He's consistent enough. Like, you can either go O-line like Josh said, or you take a late quarterback and he can mentor him for a couple years, and then when Matt Ryan's time's up.
I also really don't know who the backup
in there.
quarterback is in Atlanta.
I'm pretty sure it's Matt Schaub.
Oh, well, we
No,
have more
it's,
problems.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, what's his name? He streams on Twitch.
Stop talking.
What?
I swear, he streams on Twitch. He's got TikTok. Go look him up.
Steve Young?
I can't think of his name. What's his
He's
name?
young?
Sure it's not
Yeah,
Matt
he's
Schaub?
young. He's only been in the league a couple years.
We'll search it in a minute. I really don't know. Matt Schaub scared me, though. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
I'm
look,
not
that brings
gonna
up
lie. I
memories.
think Matt Schaub is a worse situation than Matt Ryan. Moving on to the NBA. Kevin Durant returned last week. He went perfect on the field, dropped 17. And the question was, is it his league to lose? Is it the Nets' season to lose? I think, to me, Kevin Durant is unstoppable when he's healthy. No one's playing defense on that man. His first game back, I think he dropped a hammer on Andre Drummond's head. He can just score from any area on the court. There's almost no one that can play with him. To me, I think it's KD's league until he retires.
Yeah. When KD's healthy, he's the best player in the NBA. Like,
Yeah.
he really is.
Yeah,
He's
I
going to be
think
one of
it's
the
a
greatest
landslide.
scorers. Yeah. I mean, there's no like when I wake up and I scroll through Instagram in the morning, it's
Oh, KD dropped 30 again?
yeah.
Oh, that's
all it
crazy.
is.
That's a shocker.
Yeah, when KD's healthy, he's definitely best scorer, I'd say, that pretty much ever played the game. He could possibly be one of the best scorers ever. But I think as long as LeBron's in the league, I don't think KD can really take the face of the league.
Yeah.
I think that's the bigger question is him versus LeBron for king of the court almost. And
Yeah.
right now, LeBron's got the championship. He's kind of the king of the court right now. Did you get to?
I did, and they haven't signed any quarterbacks in the offseason. So it's just Matt Ryan in the quarterback room right now.
Oh, they have big problems.
All right.
Moving on in the NBA discussion, is the West really as good as we think? And to me, honestly, the hype right now isn't matching the team's success because we have teams in the East, as I've talked about, in the Sixers and the Nets. The Nets are a championship team. I think if the Sixers get to the Eastern Conference Finals, they're going to give the Nets all they can handle with Joel Embiid at center. The Nets don't really have that center that can stop Joel Embiid. And also, I mean, you can put KD on Ben Simmons, but I don't think that's a good matchup for Brooklyn. I think the Sixers are going to take them to round 6 or 7. And in the West, there's just teams that are so beatable. The Jazz. The Jazz are like the best record in the NBA right now, but they don't look like it. Like when you watch a Jazz game, you're like, oh, they're unstoppable. No one can stop Donovan Mitchell. Like I'm a huge Donovan Mitchell fan, and I think they're like Rudy Gobert can be scored on. Donovan Mitchell can get a 30-piece drop down his head at any moment. And the Lakers, I mean, they have injury problems in Anthony Davis and LeBron, and the Clippers are the Clippers. I don't think. They're the biggest question mark I've seen any super team be in a long time.
Clippers?
Yeah, Paul George is so inconsistent. Kawhi Leonard sometimes looks like he's only playing defense. They lost Lou Will. I just don't think the Clippers are in that conversation yet on being a championship team. That's why I don't think the West is as good as we think.
Yeah, I think the West gets a lot of talk because all the superstars are in it. You got the Lakers with 2 big names. You got Warriors with Steph Curry. You got Clippers, like I said. So, like, I think the West is just there's so many superstars. It's just that's all you hear about. You really don't think about the East. You got teams like the Sixers who could go all the way.
Pacers having an all-star in DeMonte Sabonis.
Yeah.
Celtics.
I think with like the West teams, you don't have to play your best basketball to beat them. Unlike like the Nets or something, like you got to be on it.
I think the East, every game, it's like, oh, they know they got to win the game to compete in that side. In the West, it's like, you might get the best night from Devin Booker, but maybe you'll get a Suns team who's trying to give the ball to Mikal Bridges to get him a little bit better. I think the West is a little bit better with talent. I just don't think the team talent is there. Talking about team talent, the updated MVP race, I know me and CJ have argued about this a lot. We're going to do the same thing we did with quarterbacks, go one around the board and down the list. My number 1 is Nikola Jokic. He's averaging, I think, 29 and 15 at center, almost a triple-double. I think it's like 8 assists. He's changing the position at center. He's unathletic. He moves like he's Kyle Anderson in Memphis on a fast break. But he's got the point guard mentality. He can give you a bucket anytime he wants. He can shoot the 3. I just don't think there's ever been a center like Nikola Jokic is, and I think he deserves to get at least 1 MVP.
Yeah, I think Jokic definitely would be my number 1 right now. He's just different breed right now.
It's so weird to watch.
Yeah.
I got him at 1 too. He's on it.
There's no words to describe how like he's almost unguardable in some situations.
I think I seen a stat the other day. Aaron Gordon had 15 assists all season. It was something like from the Magic. Every player from the Magic had 15 assists from, and Jokic has 15 just to Aaron Gordon.
I think he makes that team so much better. I think that's a team you have to watch in the West also. As they went to the Western Conference Finals last year, they're going to be just as good as they were in the playoffs a season ago. Moving on to number 2, I put Joel Embiid. Yes, he's had the injury problems, but when he's healthy, he's unstoppable. He's had 50-point games. He's completely ran over teams, smaller teams in the East, bigger teams in the West. He's carrying that team on his back right now. I think Joel Embiid deserves to be 2.
Yeah, he's been hurt, but I think he should be. He's my number 2 too. He's averaging 29.9 points, 11.5 rebounds a game. He could just stay healthy. I think that dude he can go long way.
I got him at 2 too. I mean, he's just so dominant in the post. I think he could have a chance to win Defensive Player of the Year too. I'm pretty sure he's averaging like 3 blocks maybe. I could be wrong. I don't know though.
I think it's going to come down to him or Giannis. Yeah. Giannis is always in the defensive player conversation of the year. Moving on to 3, I think this is where we get a little bit different. I have James Harden. He's not putting up the numbers that he has in previous season in Houston, but he's just as big of a part as KD or Kyrie is in that team. When they were hurt, James Harden was winning basketball games, dropping 20 and 20 assists on the stat board. I mean, James Harden is showing that he's a superstar in Brooklyn and that he is just as valuable as anyone else on that team, and he's going to be a big reason if they get a championship this year.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad number 3, but I still, my personal opinion, I take Giannis over Harden. Giannis is averaging 28.9 points with 11.5 rebounds, but with 6 assists. So I think I take him over Harden any day.
I'd put.
I think I know your 3.
Yeah, it's Dame.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
averaging 30.
Yeah, he's averaging 30. He's got the most points or total points right now. He's playing. I don't know how many assists and stuff like that, but he's playing really good right now. But if I had to pick a forward, it'd probably be Harden or Kyrie, honestly.
I think the problem with Dame and Joel, I think it's going to come down to games played. And Dame's had a little bit of injury problem early in the year. Joel had a big injury problem in the middle. I think guys like Nikola, James Harden, Giannis are going to win that award over the other guys just because of games played, and just overall just being there and being there for their team. Moving on to college football, I think this is the biggest year of no-name talent in college football. A lot of people that haven't watched it or just casual college football fans don't know the big names that are coming to the draft this year. I think this is a moment where we can teach some listeners, if you listen on Apple Music, Spotify, any place, guys that are going to be big names and guys that had big years last year. Best QB, running back, wide receivers in college football going into 2021. We'll start QB and go down the board. I took Sam Howell from North Carolina. He's going to be the number 1 quarterback in the draft. Trevor Lawrence is gone, so it's kind of the ACC's up for grabs, and I think Sam Howell is the best quarterback to take it from Clemson. He's proven he can win. He was an Elite 11 guy coming out of high school, and every single year he's given Mac Brown the quarterback that he always dreamed when coming to North Carolina. And for me, it just has to be Sam Howell.
I think, my opinion, it's going to be DJ. I think he's going to have a blow-up year.
I mean, set up for success.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He has the receivers there, the O-line's there. There's going to be a lot of hate on him just because he's trying to fill some pretty big shoes. But but if you're really going to look down into it and not just look at the shoes he's trying to fill, I think he's going to have a great year.
I had Sam Howell in there, but another player to look out for would be JT Daniels. I know he lost George Pickens, but just he might be able to
change that Georgia football team last year. I think JT Daniels definitely a guy to watch. Moving on to running back. A little bit of bias here. Guys listening that know me, but Kevin Harris from South Carolina, he was 4th in college football in rushing yards. And if you don't put Kevin Harris here, I think it has to be Priest from Iowa State. All the seniors are gone. Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, the 2 guys from North Carolina. That leaves 2 names on the board with yards and touchdowns. Kevin Harris, I mean, even as a South Carolina fan, single-handedly carried this football team throughout the year. Broke the SEC touchdown record against Ole Miss, where literally all South Carolina had to do was hand the ball off to him, and he scored a touchdown. I think Kevin Harris, if South Carolina wins at least 7-8 games, he's going to be in the Heisman discussion. But, of course, South Carolina has a guy coming in Marshawn Lloyd who's a 5-star, so Kevin Harris is going to get the carries taken away from him. But last year, going into this year, I think Kevin Harris has to be the number 1 guy.
Yeah, I do like Kevin Harris. I really do. As a Clemson fan, I do like Kevin Harris. But I think someone else who's also going to have a really good season, Tank Bigsby from Auburn. I think he's going to have a great year.
Yeah.
I have Isaiah Spiller from Texas A&M. That kid is a really good running back.
You want to see an argument on college football? Just go to SEC Network's fan page where they listed running back power rankings, and the Texas A&M and South Carolina fan base is just clashing. Isaiah Spiller versus Kevin Harris.
I mean, they're both really good. I'd give the edge to Spiller, though. I don't know his stats off the top of my head, but I've watched a couple of games, and he just takes over football games.
I'm pretty sure Isaiah Spiller led the SEC in touchdowns, rushing-wise. I think Kevin Harris was above him in yards by like 100 yards. That was a big discussion all year long on if those guys should be Heisman contenders. Yeah. And they're both only sophomores.
Yeah, you can both put them at 1.
They're both – all the 3 guys that are left in college football to take it over are sophomores. Priest at Iowa State, Spiller and Harris in the SEC. But moving on to wide receiver, I'm going to stay in the SEC and go John Mechie III. He's a Julio-type guy. All the Alabama wide receivers are gone. Someone's got to step up, and we've seen John Mechie take over football games when Devontae Smith was hurt last year and Jalen Waddle tore his ACL. He's a guy that's going to come in and just be the Alabama guy, a guy that I can't think of the rookie quarterback's name, Bryce Young.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That he comes in and looks for to be a guy to go get the football deep. There's guys at Clemson that are going to match up, but John Mechie's just a guy that's going to be top 10 in the draft.
Oh, my bad. Oh, you go.
I have Chris Olave from Ohio State.
It's a really good pick.
He's just a quick receiver. We seen what he did at Clemson. They just run your 40-yard dash, go. But I don't know who their quarterback is though. That's the only situation. I don't know who's coming in, but if I had to pick one, I'd probably go Mechie because we've seen what he's done as a freshman. You got
He's
Bryce Young coming in, yeah. But I don't know. I just don't know who Ohio State has coming in to help them out.
I got Justin Ross from Clemson. A lot of people forgot about him. He had a crazy freshman year. Got hurt last year. Didn't play last year with Trevor's last year. But I think DJ coming in, I think that connection is going to be good.
Yeah, Justin Ross is supposed to be the next.
Yeah,
Sammy,
Justin Ross, his
DeAndre.
freshman year, think about it, his freshman
Julio.
year in that championship game, he had that crazy catch on the sideline. I think he's going to go off.
Which halfway through the year last year, he was healthy. They just didn't want him to play.
Yeah.
Like he could have played in the playoffs, but I wouldn't have.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think Justin Ross is a name that people forgot. It's kind of like when Katie got hurt, you forget about him. He's going to be back and better. I think those two guys are going to compete if they both make the playoffs. It's going to be a good matchup to watch. Moving on to best head coach hire. I know CJ had questions for me yesterday. And there's not a lot of big ones. As a South Carolina fan, we had Shane Beamer. I just don't think that's big enough. He's a hometown guy, a little bit smaller. I think the biggest one and the name that's going to change college football is Steve Sarkisian going from Alabama to Texas. I think Sark comes in and changes the mindset that Tom Herman set in place, where Tom Herman was more laid back and relaxed and let the kids be kids. Steve Sarkisian is going to come in and give them the Alabama attitude. It's going to settle down Texas fans that, oh, we're back. Steve Sarkisian is going to go, from what? You haven't done anything. Now we're going to go win championships. We're going to be the Texas that people know. And I think Steve Sarkisian is the guy to change that program around. That's why he's got to be the best coach.
I got Gus Malzahn.
Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, from Auburn, going to UFC. I think it just gives them that SEC type coach or whatever. I don't know what conference UCF is. Anybody know? I don't know. It gives him that, like, he's proven. He's beat Alabama before, a bunch of SEC teams. I think that's what a small school like UCF needs.
Yeah, I'm going with UCF there. I think it's going to be a good one.
I think Gus Malzahn's a really good hire, guy from the SEC who kind of fell off, but UCF's known to be good. I think that's a proven school, and they're going to win regardless of the head coach. Moving on to who is DBU. I think there's two schools for me that came down in discussion, but I went with Florida State. I think they just have too many guys that went to the NFL and were great, and guys that are really good in college. I have a couple: Jalen Ramsey, Ronald Darby, P.J. Williams with the Saints, LaMarcus Jr., Xavier Rhodes, Mike Harris, Myron Rolle, Antonio Cromartie, Pat Watkins, Jerome Carter, Leroy Butler, and let's not forget the great Deion Sanders. I think if it's not Florida State, I would have probably went to the other school in Florida, but I went with Florida State and just the guys they've put out production-wise.
So I got to go LSU. I like LSU because you got Travius White, who I think is best corner in the league, by the way. And then you got – I'm not big on Jamal Adams. I mean, he was good in Jets. I mean, we saw what he did in Seattle last year, but –
Good old Carolina Panther, Dante Jackson.
Jamal Adams still good. I mean,
yeah.
That's his team
Wait,
over.
he was all-pro, wasn't he?
Who?
Jamal Adams. Wasn't he
Yeah.
all-pro?
Yeah, show him.
Yeah,
All right, whatever. But I got to go LSU. But if I wouldn't go LSU, I'd go Florida State.
I have LSU. You got Pat Pete, Honey Badger, Tre'Davious White, Jamal Adams. I know there's more, like Kirkpatrick.
Dante Jackson.
Oh, yeah, he was there. He's good, too. There's a bunch more I looked. I was just trying to name the big ones. But
When you're there with White,
Yeah.
I say he gets overshadowed by White.
Greedy Williams came out of there a couple years ago. But I don't know. I think if we
I
just
think Derek
all around,
Stingley's
I'd
there
probably
now.
go LSU. But
Yeah,
I
you
don't
gotta
know.
go. I think you gotta go LSU there.
I think if we're coming down to the other school I was going to mention was Florida. I think Florida's put out a lot of DB talent. Tavares Robinson that came from Florida, South Carolina. He put out a bunch of first-round draft picks. But I just think there's like 2 or 3 schools that deserve that conversation, and Florida State and LSU are definitely the top 2 to today we had a short podcast, a shorter one. Next week we'll go the full hour length. We'll also have Billy back. But we thank